Have you ever stopped to think about what Mother's Day truly represents now, after decades of experiencing it? Perhaps as a child, a parent, maybe even a grandparent. Is it just flowers and cards, or is there a deeper current flowing beneath the surface? Many say motherhood is the toughest job in the world, but perhaps its greatest complexity reveals itself after the children are grown. Here on Wisdom of Experience, in today's reflection together, we're going beyond the commercial celebration. We'll explore three key aspects: how our perspective on motherhood and our own mothers often shifts profoundly after age 50, meaningful ways to connect and appreciate the maternal figures in our lives, or honor their memory, that resonate more deeply than material gifts, understanding the unique blend of joy, nostalgia, and sometimes complexity that this day can bring for our generation. Does this day bring up a mix of feelings for you too? I imagine for many of us, it does. Before we dive into the heart of these reflections, let me share a brief thought about why this conversation feels so important right now. Part 1. Looking back. Mother's Day. Through our generation's eyes. Let's begin then by taking a gentle step back in time. To truly appreciate where we stand now with Mother's Day, it helps to understand its journey, especially as we've experienced it. How has the way we celebrate, the way we feel about this day, evolved across the decades of our own lives? You might know that Mother's Day, in its official form in the US, began with Anna Jarvis in the early 20th century. Her vision was deeply personal, a day for sincere individual appreciation between children and their mothers, often marked by wearing a carnation in visiting or writing a heartfelt letter. It's rather poignant, isn't it, that Miss Jarvis herself later grew disillusioned, feeling the day became far too commercialized, losing that intimate, personal touch she originally intended? This tension between genuine appreciation and commercial expectation is something that has arguably followed the holiday ever since. And think about the societal landscape we grew up in and navigated as adults. For many of us born in the mid-20th century, we witnessed significant shifts. We saw the era where more mothers began working outside the home, juggling careers and family in ways previous generations hadn't experienced on such a wide scale. The expectations on mothers perhaps grew, the pressure to do it all. Family structures changed too. Maybe families became more spread out geographically, making those simple in-person celebrations of our own childhoods a bit more complex to arrange as adults. Does it transport you back? Thinking about Mother's Day when you were a child? Perhaps it brings to mind the smell of breakfast being made, maybe slightly burnt toast presented with immense pride. I remember the feeling of rough construction paper, carefully folded into a card with wobbly crayon drawings. Maybe it was a special dress worn to church, or the simple act of giving your mother a single flower from the garden. The gestures often felt simpler, smaller, yet imbued with a certain uncomplicated sincerity. Then fast forward to when we were raising our own children. Mother's Day likely looked different again. Perhaps it involved handmade gifts brought home from school, those precious macaroni necklaces or painted clay pots. Maybe there were brunches out, coordinating schedules, perhaps feeling the pressure to make the day perfect for our own mothers while navigating the joyful chaos of our own young families. I recall one year juggling a toddler, a work deadline, and trying to bake my mother's favorite cake. It didn't exactly turn out like the picture in the cookbook, but the laughter shared over the slightly lopsided result is the memory that sticks. It was often a whirlwind, wasn't it? Filled with love, yes, but also busy. Reflecting on this journey, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Amidst the evolution, the changing expectations, the commercial pressures, the busyness of our own lives, have we sometimes unintentionally drifted from that core, simple act of appreciation that Anna Jarvis envisioned? It's not about judgment, but perhaps a gentle question we can ask ourselves. How do we hold on to the heart of the day? This look back, recognizing both the historical roots and our own lived experiences of Mother's Day across different life stages, really sets the stage. It helps us understand the context as we now explore the deeper dynamics of the mother-child relationship as it exists for us today. Part 2, the evolving mother-child bond, insights from science and life. Having looked at how the celebration itself has changed, let's now turn inward to the heart of the matter, the relationship itself. Specifically, how the bond between a mother and her child continues to evolve, particularly once children are adults and mothers themselves might be entering their later years. Psychology offers some interesting insights here. Many of you might be familiar with attachment theory, the idea that our early bonds profoundly shape our later relationships. A secure foundation laid in childhood often blossoms into a relationship of mutual respect and support in adulthood. There's also fascinating biology at play. Hormones like oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, facilitate connection not just in early motherhood, but throughout life, strengthening social ties. And as we age, the dynamics often shift. There can be a subtle, sometimes even significant role reversal, where adult children begin to offer more practical and emotional support to their aging parents, moving from being primarily cared for to actively caring about their mother's well-being in new protective ways. This isn't about losing independence, but about the relationship maturing into a different phase of mutual care. Think about the conversations you have now with your mother, or perhaps with your own adult children about their lives. The dynamic is different than when they were teenagers, isn't it? Perhaps you see your own mother, now in her 70s, 80s, or 90s, and you find yourself checking in more often, helping with tasks that used to be simple for her, or simply listening in a different way. It might be noticing her vulnerability prompts a deeper tenderness in you. Or, from the other side, perhaps you're in your 50s or 60s, watching your own adult children navigate the complexities of their lives, careers, maybe parenthood themselves. You might find yourself stepping back, offering advice only when asked, celebrating their independence, while still feeling that deep, unwavering maternal connection and pride. It's a dance of closeness and respectful distance. This evolution is not something to lament. It's a natural progression of a lifelong relationship. It can be a source of incredible richness and depth. The key, perhaps, lies in recognizing and honoring this shift. It requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to see each other not just through the lens of past roles, parent-child, but as the individuals you both are now. Cultivating mutual respect in this mature phase of the relationship is paramount. Understanding this natural, evolving dynamic is crucial, as it allows us to appreciate the mother-child relationship in its current, unique form, paving the way for more meaningful connection. Part 3. Navigating complexity, gratitude amidst imperfection. Now we need to approach a sensitive but vital aspect of this topic. While we celebrate the ideal, it's essential to acknowledge that for many, the relationship with their mother, or the feelings around Mother's Day, are not simple or easy. Life and relationships carry history, and sometimes that history includes hurt or difficulty. Let's be honest, families are complex ecosystems. Perhaps your relationship with your mother has known periods of strain, misunderstandings, or deep differences in values or life choices. Maybe there are unresolved issues that cast a shadow. For some, Mother's Day might bring up feelings of loss, mourning a mother who is no longer here, or grieving the kind of relationship they wish they'd had. Perhaps your mother faced her own significant struggles that impacted her ability to parent in the way you needed. It's important to validate these feelings. You might feel a mix of love and frustration, gratitude and sadness, all at the same time. Using a composite example, imagine someone who appreciates their mother's strength in overcoming hardship, but also carries the scars of her short temper during their childhood. Both truths can exist simultaneously. Psychology offers concepts that can be helpful here. Forgiveness, for instance, is often misunderstood. It's less about condoning past actions and more about releasing the burden of anger and resentment for your own well-being. Acceptance, too, plays a role. Acknowledging the reality of the relationship, its imperfections and limitations, without necessarily liking them. And for those dealing with loss, understanding the stages of grief, even years later, can normalize the waves of sadness that might surface around days like this. It's about allowing yourself to feel what you feel without judgment. Here's a gentle but firm thought. It is perfectly okay if Mother's Day brings up a complicated blend of emotions for you. You don't have to force celebratory feelings that aren't authentic. Gratitude can coexist with pain. Appreciation can live alongside boundaries. Perhaps the most meaningful thing you can do is honor your own experience. Maybe that means finding a quiet way to acknowledge the day that feels right for you. Perhaps focusing on a specific positive memory, appreciating a life lesson learned, even through difficulty, or simply giving yourself permission to feel whatever arises without guilt. Authenticity is key. By acknowledging this complexity, we create space for a more honest, compassionate, and potentially healing approach to Mother's Day. Respecting the unique reality of each individual relationship. Part 4. The expanding definition of mothering. Having acknowledged the complexities, let's now consciously broaden our lens. When we talk about honoring mothers, what does that truly encompass, especially at this stage of our lives? Let's explore the expansive nature of mothering. Motherhood isn't confined solely to biological ties. Think about the women who have played significant mothering roles in your life. Perhaps it was a grandmother whose wisdom and cooking shaped your childhood. Maybe an aunt who offered a listening ear and unwavering support during tough times. It could be a mentor who guided your career, a stepmother who chose to love and nurture. And let's not forget the roles many of us now play. For those who are grandparents, you know the unique joy and profound connection that comes with nurturing that next generation. The act of mothering, of guiding, supporting, nurturing, loving unconditionally, extends far beyond the traditional definition. It's about the spirit of care. Consider the woman who never had children of her own, but was the beloved auntie to all the kids on the block, always ready with a hug and a cookie. Her impact was deeply maternal. There's a concept in developmental psychology, particularly relevant in midlife and beyond, called generativity, introduced by Erik Erikson. It describes the desire to contribute to the welfare of the next generation, to create, nurture, and leave a positive legacy. This isn't limited to parents. It's a fundamental human drive to connect with, guide, and support others, ensuring continuity. This innate need fuels many of these nurturing relationships we form and value throughout our lives. It reflects our deep-seated need to foster growth and connection beyond ourselves. This is why it feels so important to expand our definition. The spirit of mothering is a powerful, life-affirming force in the world, present in countless relationships. On Mother's Day, perhaps we can consciously extend our appreciation beyond our own mothers to include all the women who have offered that nurturing presence. And importantly, let's acknowledge the mothering spirit within ourselves, the ways we guide, support, and care for others, whether they are our children, grandchildren, friends, or community members. This capacity for nurturing is something to be celebrated in all its diverse forms. By recognizing these varied and vital roles, our understanding and appreciation of maternal influence becomes richer, deeper, and more inclusive. Part 5. Meaningful gestures. Beyond the bouquet. Understanding the evolution, the complexities, and the broader scope of mothering leads us to a practical question. How can we express our appreciation in ways that truly resonate now, perhaps moving beyond the familiar, sometimes obligatory gifts? Especially as we get older, many find that the most cherished gifts aren't things, but experiences and genuine connection. While a beautiful bouquet is lovely, it's often the investment of time, the shared laughter, the feeling of being truly seen and heard that leaves a lasting imprint on the heart. Let's focus on gestures that cultivate that connection, showing we care in ways that speak directly to the relationship we have now. There's actually psychology behind why experiences often mean more than material goods in the long run. Shared experiences create memories, and memories form the bedrock of relationships. Engaging in an activity together, having a meaningful conversation, these things release bonding hormones like oxytocin we mentioned earlier. They fulfill our fundamental need for belonging and connection far more effectively than a passive object often can. Acts of service, too, doing something helpful for someone, communicate care and attentiveness in a very direct, tangible way. It says, I see you, I understand your needs, and I want to help. So what might these meaningful gestures look like for our generation, connecting with our mothers or mother figures, or even honoring their memory? Quality time. It sounds simple, but it's profound. Set aside distraction-free time. Have a quiet cup of tea together. Take a slow walk in a park. Simply sit and listen. Truly listen to her stories or concerns. Shared memories. Pull out old photo albums. Ask her about the stories behind the pictures. Share your cherished memories of her. This reaffirms shared history and acknowledges her importance in your life. Record her legacy. Offer to help her write down family stories or record her voice-sharing memories. This honors her life and creates a priceless gift for future generations. Acts of service. Is there a task she finds challenging now? Offer to help. Grocery shopping, gardening, navigating technology. Cook her favorite meal. These practical acts speak volumes of love. The power of words. Write a heartfelt letter, not just Happy Mother's Day, but express specific things you appreciate about her, recall a particular positive memory, or mention a specific way she influenced you for the better. Honoring memory. If your mother has passed, create a personal ritual. Light a candle, visit a place that was special to her, cook her favorite recipe, or gather family to share stories about her. It's about keeping her spirit alive in your heart. These thoughtful actions, tailored to the individual and the relationship, move beyond obligation. They create genuine connection and leave a lasting emotional impact, enriching both the giver and the receiver. Part 6. The legacy we carry, the legacy we create. As we approach the culmination of our reflection, let's consider something profound. The enduring impact, the legacy of mothers and mother figures. Think for a moment about the intangible gifts you've received from your mother or the maternal figures in your life. It's often not about money or possessions. It's in the values they instilled. Perhaps honesty, resilience, kindness. It's in the traditions they passed down, holiday rituals, family recipes, ways of celebrating milestones. Maybe it's a particular phrase they used, a certain way they laughed, or the strength you saw in them during difficult times that you now draw upon yourself. I often catch myself saying something exactly like my grandmother used to, and it brings a warm smile. This influence doesn't fade after childhood. It becomes woven into the fabric of who we are. And now, for many of us in the 50-plus generation, we are also consciously or unconsciously shaping the legacy for our children and grandchildren. What values are we emphasizing? What traditions are we choosing to carry forward? What kind of ancestor do we hope to be? Sociologists and psychologists talk about intergenerational transmission. This refers to the ways that not just genetics, but also values, beliefs, communication styles, and even emotional patterns can be passed down through families. While this can sometimes include challenging patterns, it also highlights the incredible power we have to consciously pass on positive traits. Resilience, empathy, a love of learning, a strong work ethic, the importance of family connection. Recognizing this transmission allows us to be more intentional about the legacy we both received and the one we are now creating. The influence of a mother or a nurturing maternal figure is one of the most powerful, yet often quietest forces shaping our lives and society. It's a legacy built not in monuments, but in moments. Moments of comfort, guidance, sacrifice, and love. Taking time to consciously reflect on the positive legacy you've inherited can be deeply affirming, and recognizing your role now as someone potentially creating that legacy for others adds a layer of meaning and purpose to your own life journey. It's about appreciating this quiet, powerful continuity. Understanding legacy, both the one we carry and the one we are actively building, adds a final, profound layer of depth to our appreciation and understanding of the maternal role in our lives. And so, as we bring our shared reflection together, we've journeyed quite a distance. We've looked back at how Mother's Day has shifted through our lives, explored the evolving bonds with our mothers and children, acknowledged the complexities that often exist, expanded our view of mothering, discovered meaningful ways to connect beyond gifts, and considered the powerful current of legacy. What emerges, I hope, is a deeper appreciation for the incredible richness of it all. Mother's Day, especially when viewed through the lens of decades of lived experience, isn't just one thing. It's a complex, beautiful, sometimes poignant tapestry woven with threads of deep love, cherished memories, shared laughter, learned resilience, perhaps some sorrow and undeniable connection. It offers us a chance, perhaps once a year, to pause and hold our gratitude gently. Gratitude for the mothers we had, with all their human imperfections. Gratitude for the mothering figures who stepped in and shaped us. Gratitude for the opportunity, if we have it, to be that nurturing presence for others, as parents, grandparents, mentors, friends. It reminds us that at the heart of it all is connection, the simple, profound human need to love and be loved, to nurture and be nurtured. It's about recognizing that quiet, enduring strength, the often unseen work of the heart that holds families and communities together. So I offer this gentle invitation, not as an obligation, but as an opportunity for personal reflection. Sometime today, or perhaps later this week, when you have a quiet moment, could you bring to mind one specific positive quality or memory you truly cherish about your mother or a significant mother figure in your life? Just hold it for a moment. If it feels right, perhaps consider a simple, authentic gesture of connection. Maybe it's not a grand event, but a brief phone call just to check in, a short text saying you're thinking of them, or revisiting that heartfelt letter idea we discussed. And if you feel moved to share, absolutely no pressure. We here at Wisdom of Experience would genuinely love to hear from you in the comments below. What is one small tradition, a simple memory, or a feeling associated with Mother's Day that brings you warmth or makes you smile? Sharing these little pieces of our stories helps us realize how connected we truly are in these universal human experiences. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here on Wisdom of Experience, reflecting on these important themes. Whatever this day holds for you, may you find moments of peace, genuine connection, and a gentle warmth in your heart as you honor the mothers and mother figures, past and present, who have touched your life. Take good care of yourselves.